Okay, folks, we're back with the bonus edition here with Howard Levy. And for those of you that cut out early, you are going to miss this. So I'm going to actually turn this over to Howard now. He's going to tell us about the Hohner Thunderbird, his input that he had on the production of this great instrument, and his time in Trossington, Germany, at the Hohner factory, making all of this possible so we could have great harmonicas to play. Howard, take it away.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. No, but seriously, part of what I do, what I did when I was doing a lot of touring in Europe, sometimes the people at Hohner, Gerhard Mueller among them, would ask me to come and do some product testing. And so I was always very happy to do that. It was exciting to be involved and sort of from the ground level of to see how they were doing the development of new models of harmonicas. And Klaus Stetter actually was also very instrumental in starting these procedures. He was the former factory manager, yeah, wonderful guy. And so they would do extensive testing with all sorts of prototypes. And they would give us lists, on pieces of paper of the characteristics that they wanted us to grade on a level from 1 to 5, and give us tons of these instruments. Some of which were really hard to play, some of which were great, and they were trying to narrow down the design parameters to come up with the best possible instrument. So I participated in these tests of the crossover, and then the bass crossovers, which they ended up calling the Thunderbirds. And I really liked the crossover. And Steve Baker had the idea to use bamboo for the combs, uh, which it made a remarkable difference. And some people don't really believe how big of a difference a comb can make. But with the harmonica, everything makes a difference because you're talking about a tiny instrument here. The shape of the cover plates, whether they're vented or closed, um, the what the combs are made out of, and of course all the characteristics of the reeds, the reed profiles, and all this stuff. So I'm very, very interested in harmonicas structurally, and what I play mostly these days are marine bands customized by Joe Falisco, and I've known Joe since 1992. And they have special 20 reed cover plates because I like the closed vents on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses these rock maple plywood combs that somebody makes. I don't even know who the guy who makes them is, but I know how to tune my harmonicas, and I even can replace reeds, which
Okay.
I don't enjoy replacing reeds, but I can. And I know Joe is about 150 times better than I am at this, but sometimes I just really feel like repairing them myself. And there's a sort of a zen that goes on, even with tuning reeds. It helps you get in touch with the instrument a little better. And of course, I also adjust reed clearances um, on the customized instruments and also the out of the box harps that I play. I really like playing harps out of the box. Sometimes I don't need to adjust clearances very much at all.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I might feel like tuning one or two reeds to make them a little bit more equal tempered if they're more in a compromised tuning, and I feel like I need this fifth hole draw to be a little higher or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So these Thunderbirds, you know, uh, low key harmonicas, in theory, the lower the axe, like the fuller and richer it's going to sound, and that's one of the reasons I prefer the G, which is the lowest standard tuned harmonica. I mean, you can get F sharps and Fs, but G is usually thought of as the lowest one,
Mm-hmm.
and it also corresponds to the violin. But when Hohner started making these Thunderbirds, I mean, the low C is extremely playable. And even overblows. I mean, they really, really spent a lot of time getting this right. Um, the only change I do is I use usually the top. I have closed ends on my
Okay.
top reed
Uh-huh.
plate because I just feel it mellows out the sound a little bit.
Okay.
and it makes it behave a little differently. Um, but I recorded this one tune of mine on the Art Plus Adrenaline album with Chris Siebold. It's a tune I played for years. I probably wrote it in the '90s, mid '90s. It's called the Tri-State Boogie,
Okay.
and it's that kind of groove. And
Hmm.
I usually just play it. Here's a golden melody. Anyway, it's that. But I C, even C is a little bit high for me. I mean, I can play great stuff even on a high F harp. I mean, I'm comfortable, but the sound of the lower harps is what I really like.
Hmm.
So uh, when it came time to record this tune, I really wanted to. So I recorded it on this, and it just sounds so big and beefy.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're hand holding a mic, just playing on a regular mic with it.
Uh-huh.
It's got this big beefy. Oof, I love these, and I have all of them. I have a case of all of them somewhere underneath something on my desk.
Right.
Going down to the low F, which is here they are. Now the low F does make my eyeballs jiggle a little bit. I confess that's the regular F. This is the double low F. Where is it? I marked it. Is it this one? Have you tried those?
I haven't tried that. No.
I mean, it's really for chords. It's really
Wow.
great. Put a
Wow.
position. It's just hard to bend real because
Sure.
good,
Way
but
back there.
it really doesn't make my voice good. Really. You can bend the third hole draw on it, but the low G is almost usable for stuff. Matter of fact, I'm just about to do a recording for somebody, and there's like it's an old like whoop whoa stop dangerous keyboard. It's like an old horn section that had like Barry sax in it,
Hmm.
big and tenor or something like that. An old R&B thing. Like, boy, something happened to this keyboard. I don't know. Here. So I'm gonna play some of those on the Thunderbirds. Boom. Sound like a Barry sax.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I just think they're a wonderful addition to any harmonica player's arsenal. And I also do love the crossovers, especially for the higher keys. I really I play a D crossover quite a bit when I have to play a D.
Hmm.
And also I have this. I should have gotten Felisko to make me a lot more of these, but these wonderful brass comb harps that he made, and there's a lot of magic inside these. It's not just solid brass. He did lots of things with it. And this one, I recently used it on a recording. I can't remember which one for somebody.
Hmm.
I've done a lot of recordings recently for other people too.
Are you
But this,
recording right there at home, right?
yes, I have Pro Tools here, and I've done a lot of tracks on harmonica for people. Oh, yeah, it was for a TV show in LA. It was, believe it or not, Family Guy.
Oh, wow. All right.
And I used this harmonica because it was an A blues. It's like a little trumpet.
That's amazing.
I love the tone of this. This is very special. Yeah. Whoops.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
great harp.
Zoom wanted to compress a little bit of that, but I could still hear it, and then at the tail end it definitely popped out. That's cool.
I could back off, but yeah, this is a magic harp, and I should have gotten Joe to make me a lot more brass harps, but that was my foolishness because he's not doing that anymore. But yeah, I have a huge collection of harmonicas of vintage ones from the 1880s and 90s, all Honors actually. And I have to say, I do want to say one thing, like really that I should have mentioned in the beginning, is that the whole reason I play the way I do is because these overblows and overdraws work on Honors straight out of the box
Mm-hmm.
in 1969 and 70 when I was starting to play.
Mm-hmm.
And they work on the antique harmonicas that I have. I can pick up one from 1890. The stuff will just come right out. I don't open them up and mess with them or anything.
Wow.
It's because Honer's reed sizes, they have long slots. And so it's able to handle the stresses of being closing reeds. You know, the stuff that I learned about overblows, I didn't learn how they worked until years later. And people like scientists were starting to research this stuff.
Right.
Because all I knew was like, if I do this, this note comes out. I didn't know how it worked.
Right.
And quite frankly, I didn't care that much until people came along and figured it out and were actually able to enhance the ability to do overblows cleanly. And people like Falisco came along and added, you know, like raised the headroom on the harmonica so that now if I pick up one of these custom harps, I can bend overblows up. Where's this? This one made one. You know, so that the note that you're getting is only part of the range of an overblow. You know, and that was like a real mind blower for me because I just thought, well, I'm just getting these single notes and I'll try and get them in tune. But when people started figuring out ways to enhance the behavior of the reeds, people like Falisco especially, it just opened up the instrument to do more things and gave me, you know, additional ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he started working with Honer, now you'll find that certain models that they make, the overblows come out much easier, and that Honer is actually concerned, and not just Honer, other harmonica companies too, because this little thing I started has grown into like an international style
Uh-huh.
of people who want to just play notes just like you can on a piano or on a guitar.
Sure.
Now, it wasn't until years later that I discovered that people had squeaked out a few overblows in the past. There's a recording of a guy in 1931 hitting one.
Mm-hmm.
And Norton Buffalo, not Norton, I'm sorry, Will Scarlett
Scarlet.
experimented with them in the 60s and then stopped.
Okay.
And I'm sure other people obviously accidentally hit these things. And some of them probably hit them more than once and used them in their playing. But it never made it to the mainstream of harmonica playing until I came along and made it, like, you know, an integral part of my style to play the notes that you could play on any other instrument on the diatonic harmonica. And then the manufacturers had to respect that and, you know, try to cater a little bit more toward the needs of the growing number of people who are playing like this.
Mm-hmm.
All the companies were trying various things, but the point I'm making is that Honers, they worked anyway.
Right.
And the other ones, most of the other companies used had reeds that were shorter slots that could not stand up under the stress of doing the overblows, and you'd get shrieks and whistles coming out of the instrument routinely, like on Lee Oscars or on the earlier Suzukis and Tombos, or that is the Oscars,
Yeah.
and even earlier Seidels too. Uh, so it's really been quite a journey learning about the harmonica structurally for me, which I didn't know anything about for like the first 15 years that I played.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys just never take them apart to see what's in there, you know?
Well, I took them apart when they would break and they were put together with nails. And so you couldn't really get them back together again. Not really.
Yeah, right.
And then taking the reed plates off, that was, forget it with the nailed ones. It was like, unless you're skilled at that kind of stuff, because there were people who would tap the reed plates for screws
Uh-huh.
and also put screws in on the ends where the nails were. I think Donnie Brooks would do that in New York. He did a lot of customizing of his own instruments. I had no interest or inclination in that direction, you
Wow.
know. And and you have to be careful with harmonicas. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. Um, you can ruin things.
Yeah.
You can definitely ruin things, and you can change the temper of the metal if you do it wrong. Get it too hot, and then things will just get really weird. Uh,
Hmm.
even with tuning too. I mean, if you file too much, the reeds can kind of go crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a good thing for harmonica players to take an old harmonica and learn how to tune a reed, because you don't have to throw the instrument away just because one reed goes out of tune.
Hmm.
And retuning a reed, it'll last for months after that or years. It's not like you have to replace it right away when it goes out of tune. And I think it's an important skill for harmonica players to know how to just do some basic repair on the instrument. I had to learn because when I went on the road, I didn't have the option.
Hmm. I was just going to
And
say that. Yeah.
they're especially playing customized harps. You don't go into a store and get a new harmonica that sounds and feels like a Falisco customized harmonica.
Right.
Um, and they're more expensive than they used to be. I mean, $2.25 in 1969. The world hasn't gotten 20 times more expensive since then. I mean, but harmonicas have.
Yeah, they have.
And
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, you can't. Uh, I think it's irresponsible to not know how to just do some basic stuff and to keep them clean
Mm,
is
right.
really important. And it's something that I
How
was
do you
very
keep your harps clean?
well. I mean, if I play one harp a lot, I can just sort of feel like it's not responding right. I'll
Hmm.
take it apart. I'll wash it in warm soapy water.
Hmm.
You know, because the new combs are sealed.
Hmm.
With wooden combs in the past, if you wash them in water, forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything would swell up, and
Mhm.
and of course, the soaking your harp thing back then was because the combs would swell up and make the harmonica more airtight as long as the harps were wet.
Yeah.
And so the guys in the old days, when the harp cost 25 cents, you'd play it for a night, it would sound killer, and then you throw it away and you get a new one.
Uh-huh.
But plastic harps and the sealed comb harps, you can get everything wet and scrub off all the crud from your lips that's in there and the dust. And
Mhm.
also, don't ever put a harp in your pocket without a case around it.
Right.
All sorts of lint can get into it, coins,
Hmm.
paper clips, man, anything can fall into a harp.
Yeah.
So I sometimes use a little like a wire brush on parts of it, if like especially the reed cover plates on the inside, they can
Hmm.
get kind of tarnished and
Sure.
even rusty.
Yeah.
Uh, and also a ultrasonic cleaner can work well too. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
I don't leave it in too long, but
Mm.
it shakes loose the dirt from the reeds and the reed plates, and so there's a lot of different ways to do it. And Yeah, you could just sort of feel, hey, the harp's not responding. It's probably really dirty in there. Let's open it up and get rid
Right.
of some of the schmutz.
Yeah. It's daunting to open up a harp, and so I've tried to tune them myself. Years ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I had had the bug, and I'm like, okay, I've got to do this. And I just ruined, a handful of harps trying to tune them, and not, it was like, it was daunting. I guess that's the word. But
Yeah,
so since then, I've just left it up to other people to do that for me. But it would be good to be on the road, because I know on the road I'll blow a harp out, or one reed out in there's not a music store, or if there is one, they don't have that key.
that's right. You try to find a D flat harp in the middle of Montana.
Yeah,
It's
or
not going to
yeah,
happen.
country tune, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it's the thing I use to tune my harps. It's an app.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Strobe Tuner app.
Okay.
iStrobo Soft by Peterson,
Okay.
and you can set all sorts of things. And most harps are tuned to 442
Mm.
these days, straight out of the factory, because as soon as you start playing, it drops down to 440. This is one of the little known things. You tune a harp to 440, it's going to go flat. I mean, as soon as you play it. I mean, for example, the difference between and when you tune, I try to be totally neutral, but it's a little flatter.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And unless you play strictly like maybe a tongue blocking guy who doesn't use a pucker, maybe it'll stay a little bit sharper if you just do real basic stuff.
Uh-huh.
But most people, when they give any kind of expression to a harmonica, you pull the pitch down a few cents,
Mm-hmm.
or a few cycles per,
Yeah.
it'll go down from 442 to 440, which is why most manufacturers tune to 442 or even 443.
I never knew that. I mean, I
Yeah,
knew that they were tuned to 442, but I did not know why.
that's why.
Okay.
And the old harps were tuned to 440, and certain bands, the guitar players would tune a little flat,
Mm-hmm.
so the harp wouldn't sound flat. Because there's nothing worse than that flat sound, man.
Yeah.
Like
You totally.
weird flat, and that's also one of the reasons I have to say. Oh shoot, I hope I have that guy here. Uh, I had an equal tuned just intonation harmonica up here, but let me see if I still have it. Oh, I had it in a little case. I might have brought it downstairs. Oh no, here it is. In the past, in the beginning, all these instruments were tuned to just intonation. And this is an old herring that I got like 30 years ago. Oh, stop, stop. Oh, a lot of buttons on here. Gee whiz. So this one, the chords are perfectly in tune.
Mm.
And if you play this through any kind of distortion mic, anything, an A-static or a green bullet or whatever,
Mhm.
into a basement or something, man, it's going to sound huge.
Yeah.
But if you try to play melodies on this,
Wow.
that is like 30 cents flat.
Yeah.
And that's why it sounds so in tune. Beatless, that seventh chord, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
But it's the whole thing of the equal temperament, which allows us to play in all 12 keys, can work against a harmonica for chordal and rhythmic playing, which is why golden melodies are not preferred by most blues players, because you play that chord and it's totally out of tune.
Yeah.
So on the compromise tuned harps, like my regular C here, not quite as out of tune as it is on this golden melody. It's like
Yeah.
so you hear the
Totally.
wave beats. But so one of the things that I started doing was playing in the key of F on the C harp. I'm just going to stick to the C harp right now.
Okay.
It's the relative major of third position, which is D minor. Especially with the overblows and stuff. What a great key. But
Yeah.
if you tried doing that on a just intonation harp, the F would be so flat that who would want to play in a key where the tonic, the
Is
first note of the scale, is out of tune?
uh-huh.
So I think that that's maybe one of the main reasons why nobody before me really played in that key.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys played in third. And on a just intonation harp, it sounds even better. Yeah. But this 12th position some of those Albert King licks.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of the great keys to play in on the harmonica, and I just was astounded that nobody did it before me, really. But I think that's the reason why.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know, is that note until the Golden Melodies came along, that note was flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, there's 12 keys on each harmonica, people. You know, you can play in D flat. You know, you can play in A flat. And this is just the Golden Melody that I adjusted some of the reed clearances, not all of them. I mean,
Uh-huh.
most of this stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of your mental concept has to be there before you can play in these keys, which is what we discussed. And the way I just have to, something that I didn't do, which is to play the, oh, except that thing is still going. Let's see if I can turn it on. So that's what I'm seeing in my mind
Uh-huh.
playing, and I can self-accompany, you know. It's stuck. Anyway, I'm very comfortable doing that, and had to learn how to do that for certain bands I was in, like the Flecktones and Trio Globo, where we would record things where I'd play both instruments, sometimes in the studio simultaneously, sometimes overdubbed, and you play live. Hey, you gotta deliver the
Yeah.
goods. So
Right. That's right.
so I had to practice doing that, and then you do it a few hundred times a year, you get
Mhm.
better at it.
Mhm. Yeah. That's right.
So I just thought I would show people how I think. And the G harp is my direct link, but I can also accompany myself on other key harmonicas, and
Mhm.
I can read fairly well on about 5 or 6 different key harmonicas because I've had to.
Right.
Actually, more than that, but
Yeah.
thinking about chord changes gets a little weird sometimes. But I've had to train myself how to do it. I've had such a, like I said, people say, "Hey, this guy can do anything," and if I can't do it, they send me home.
Yeah, it's a you got to live up to your own rep,
And your own rep grows, and you get transformed by
Mhm.
learning how to do stuff that you couldn't do before. And the instrument just keeps surprising me
Mhm.
every day. There's more stuff I find on the harmonica that I didn't know was there or that I couldn't do. So I'm constantly uh, falling in love with the harmonica more every day.
Well, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Howard, unbelievable. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate you so much. I know Honer appreciates you being here as well. And yeah, you're an inspiration to us all. You know, it's spooky, actually. It's, listening, I'm like, wow, you know how, when you know how the soup is made to some extent, if you go to a Broadway show and if you've ever been in a musical, or if you go hear a rock band and you've been in a rock band, you listen and you watch with different sorts of eyes, and sometimes it's hindering to where you can't really enjoy that Broadway show because you're always thinking about how the soup is made. But with you, it's such a different level that it brings back the joy of hearing the instrument be played in such a way that you're forced to not you're just forced to enjoy it rather than try to figure it out almost. Does that make sense?
I like what you said. Yes. I mean, I try to play from my heart,
Mm-hmm. Well, you
and
do, that's for sure.
that's the whole point of this. The
Mm-hmm.
instrument captured me because it's so soulful and heartfelt the way it sounds. It's like, it's just the invention of the instrument is just one of the great musical accidents of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so amazing. I mean, this instrument, even if you don't really know how to play it, you can get up on stage and go like that. People go wow like that. It captures people emotionally.
Uh-huh.
And so I try not to lose sight of that with all the technical stuff that I learn how to do. The reason I'm motivated is that I'm in love with the sound of the instrument, and I try to communicate and play in that way that I'm in love with what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it flows out too. We're as the listener and a viewer, we're absolutely enjoying that moment with you when you play. It's a heavenly thing. So
Hmm.
thank you, man. Yeah, wonderful. All right, Howard, I love it. Thanks for coming back for round two. This is a very special treat, one I didn't expect, and I'm so just so grateful.
All right, Jamie, my pleasure, really.
We'll see you next time. Stay well.
You too.
Bye
Bye
bye.
now.